And now, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Alan West. He's just some guy that I met on the street. No, I'm just kidding. He's amazing. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Oh.
Yada, 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 yada. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, I just want to say thank you so much, Alfie, for having me here. Thank you so much, Mimi. I got a lot of great friends here. Pam Collins, Diane Van Paris. Where's Greg Soquist? Greg, where you at? Greg and I go back almost 12 years. He used to live on that communist side of South Florida called Fort Lauderdale. Now he got smart and came over here to the conservative side. So it's good to be with you. But before I get started, I want to recognize someone. Because often we don't realize when history is amongst us. And tonight, you have a piece of history that is amongst us. A man that was a World War II and Korean War veteran, 96 years of age, Wiley Cortese. Wiley, please stand so we can thank you for what you have done for this great nation. Yes, sir, Army strong. And see, the thing is, when I look at Wiley, he reminds me of my dad. My dad was a black man born in 1920 in South Alabama, jumped the Chattahoochee River, grew up in South Georgia. But when the nation needed him to answer the call for service, it wasn't about his skin color. It was about his character. And he stepped up and he fought side by side to make sure that we would be free, that fascism, Nazism, Japanese imperialism would never overtake the free world. Sadly, I lost my dad very early in 1986. He was just 66 years of age. But I wish that I could recognize my dad just the same as I just recognized Wiley, because they are truly that greatest generation that enables us, Alfie, to have this incredible country, the greatest nation that the world has ever known, these United States of America. But we have challenges, because when you think about this greatest generation, the best thing that we can do is protect the legacy that they fought for, that they passed on to us. When they came back from World War II or Korea, you think about the incredible industrialization of America. You think about the incredible boom that we had in our economy and all the successes that we were able to see and feel and achieve. But I often tell people that, I was in the Army. I know there's some Air Force people here and Navy people. They're really smart. And so they don't have to write things down like Army guys have to. But I want to challenge you that wherever you go, because we are on an ideological battlefield, you need to have your little 3x5 cards. So that, as it says in the Bible, study to show thyself approved, so that you can be ready to engage in any debate against progressive socialists, communists, Marxists, wherever you encounter them. And I want to read to you this quote that is so important. I think it reflects where we are today. The uncontested absurdities of today are the accepted slogans of tomorrow. They come to be accepted by degrees, by dint of constant pressure on one side and constant retreat on the other side, until one day when they are suddenly declared to be the country's official ideology. 1950s, Ayn Rand. And if you understand what has happened since this greatest generation came back from defeating the evils of Nazism and fascism and Japanese imperialism, we have sat around and watched the slow creep of progressivism and socialism and Marxism into the United States of America. And there is no place that is more prevalent than in our schools right now today. Because you think about this. Wiley went off to fight for a country that knew that it was established on July the 4th of 1776. But yet you have people that are teaching our kids, indoctrinating our kids to believe that these United States of America were created in 1619 when the first slave ship arrived. You have people that are teaching our kids everything that is bad about the United States of America. They don't teach about World War II. They don't even teach about the Revolutionary War. They don't teach about the Declaration of Independence. You know, just last month, September the 17th, how many people know the importance of September the 17th in the United States of America? See, this is what I'm talking about. September the 17th, 1787, Constitution Day. That was the day that this impeccable document, that all of us soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen, we took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that we will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that we took that obligation freely, without any purpose of evasion or mental reservation, so help me God. But now our kids aren't even being taught that. And sadly, we've got adults that don't even know what this document is. And if we fail to understand where we came from, we will not know where we are. And if we don't know where we are, someone else will determine where we are going. That's the fight that we have in our schools right now. What the left has done so adequately and so stealthily is they had gone into our college and university campuses and they took over every single school of journalism. So now we're just producing the next generation of leftist journalists. But what they also did, they took over every single school of education in our college and university campuses. So now the teachers that we have being produced that are out there teaching our kids, rather indoctrinating our kids, are just repeating the Marxist, progressive socialist ideology. When we have this thing called critical race theory, and remember that this past summer at the Teachers Union Conference, the head of the Teachers Union, Randy Weingarten, stood up and said that the teachers' unions will fight parents to make sure that critical race theory is taught from grades K through 12. And you just heard last week, the guy that is running to be the Democrat governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, he admitted and said in a debate that parents do not have the right to decide what their children should be taught. That's not in keeping with the principles and values of the men and women of Wiley's generation enabled us to have here today. And if we don't start understanding that the number one battlefield for us is in our school boards, the most important elected position in the United States of America is school board. But the election that has the least amount of voter participation, time after time after time, is school board. And then you ask yourself, why is this happening with my kids? Because we're dialing it in. We're not paying attention to it. And let me tell you, folks, it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot of resources to run and win a school board race. But we just need to start training up that next generation of people that will do so. Out in South Lake, Texas, maybe some of y'all heard the story. In South Lake, Texas, they had the precursor to critical race theory. It's called the Cultural Competency Action Plan. And the school board there were telling the parents in South Lake, Carroll Independent School District, that this is what will be taught to your kids. And basically what they're saying is, Alfie, your skin color makes you evil. It makes you an oppressor. And my skin color makes me a victim and oppressed. That's not America. That's not why men and women have come together under the code of e pluribus unum. But what did they do in South Lake, Texas? They could have dialed it in. They could have said there's nothing we can do. They stood up and formed the South Lake Families PAC. 350 to 400 families got together. They selected people to run for school board. They raised money to finance them. And guess what happened? They flipped their school board. And they're about to take over a couple of other seats on that school board. That's what we need to do. Because if we don't start making sure that we are teaching and educating our children if we don't start making sure that we are growing the next generation of critical thinkers, instead of teaching kids how to take a test, that's something we got here in Florida called an FCAT. Rote memorization is not what built this great nation. Rugged individualism and entrepreneurial endeavors and the willing to take risks is what built this great nation. But if we're not teaching that to our kids, if we're not teaching them the fundamentals of this great nation and what it means to be here, let me tell you something. In 1961, I was born in a blacks-only hospital in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia. Now explain to me how a kid born in a blacks-only hospital to a dad who was just a corporal in the United States Army, with an older brother who was just a lance corporal in the United States Marine Corps who served in Vietnam, how can that kid grow up to become a lieutenant colonel in the Army and to command a battalion of 600 in combat? It only happens here in the United States of America. How is it that a kid born in a blacks-only hospital can come back from Afghanistan and run and win a congressional race in a district that is 92, almost 93% white, that had the highest per capita income zip code in the United States of America at that time, which was Palm Beach Island? In 1961, when I was born in a blacks-only hospital, blacks could not go on Fort Lauderdale Beach. Blacks could not go on Palm Beach Island. But on my 50th birthday, I was the guy that represented Fort Lauderdale Beach and Palm Beach Island. How is it that a kid born in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, in a blacks-only hospital, can sit down and have dinner, not once, not twice, but 3 times, with a conservative icon by the name of Rush Limbaugh? How can you sit down and go into a little bitty house on Palm Beach Island called Mar-a-Lago and sit down and chill out with the guy who ended up becoming the president of the United States of America? How is it that a kid born in a blacks-only hospital can grow up and become the chairman of the largest Republican state party in the United States of America and now be running for governor of the largest conservative red state in the United States of America? That only happens when we tell our children that you can be all that you can be, and we don't succumb to this critical race cultural Marxism that the left is trying to perpetuate on our children. We cannot lose America, because if we lose America, we lose the entire free world. And we will go into a new dark age. So it starts right here with each and every one of you. It starts with an organization like the Florida Citizens Alliance. You know, some people used to make fun of the fact that Barack Obama was a community organizer. I didn't. We all need to be community organizers. We all need to get outside of our comfort zones. We need to get outside of our echo chambers. We need to take our message to people that don't think and believe as we do. And we need to be forcible in getting them to understand that what they believe in is wrong. The left has a delusional tenacity. Those rascals know that everything they believe in sucks. It has never worked, but they will fight you tooth and nail to convince you that they can make it work. But what we've got to do is fight even harder to say that we are not going to lose our fundamental principles and values and allow you to fundamentally transform our nation, the longest running constitutional republic that the world has ever known, into something else. And I will tell you that you all are living in a state that is a beacon for the United States of America. Thank God you have a great governor like Ron DeSantis that is standing up to Joe Biden. And we need to have more of our Republican governors standing up. Let me tell you one of the things that I get tired of on our side. We have got to stop bringing a plastic spoon to a gunfight. You don't win with a plastic spoon in a gunfight. Remember what Ayn Rand said? The constant pressure on one side and the constant retreat on the other. This has been a masterful strategic plan where we find ourselves in America that has been going on for the last 50, 60, 70 years. It is not too late. But if we don't step forward with courage and resolve, if we don't remember those young men who set their foots on beaches like Normandy or Iwo Jima or Okinawa, if we don't have that same type of commitment, then we do them wrong for what they did for us. those veterans who are sitting back and watching the decimation of our military. I mean, the fact that we, on the 20th remembrance of 9/11, saw the Taliban raise their flag over the presidential palace in Kabul, that we left $85 billion of equipment to a terrorist organization, and somehow we think that's absolutely fine. We have got to start professing the truth. And I need you. How many parents and grandparents we got here? Proverbs 22:6 says this. It says, train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. If we start to invest in our children, if we start to ask our children what happened in school today. My mother and father, before I had dinner growing up in Atlanta, I had to pull out a story from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And I had to give them a 3 to 5 minute summary of that story before we had dinner. How many of us are engaging our children like that? Because if you don't, think about how much time your child spends with a teacher or a professor, and how much influence and impact they can have instead of the influence and impact that you should be having. You've got to go back and remember what Joshua said in chapter 24 and verse 15. In his farewell address, he said, choose for yourselves today whom you shall serve, being the gods of the Amorites or the gods from across the river. But he said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. What are you saying about you and your house? Who are you serving? Because life is not about what we achieve, what titles we make. This is a beautiful, incredible facility. But Alfie, if this facility is not here 20 years from now, 30 or 40 years from now, if the Florida Citizens Alliance is not here 20, 30, or 40 years from now, what really have you accomplished? And what really have you achieved? So I want you from now on, every single day, think about your life in these two terms. This is what I told soldiers in combat as a commander. Every day you've got to wake up and understand what your task and what your purpose is. We call that your what and your why. Because when I would see soldiers and they didn't understand their task and purpose, I would tell them, you're just an oxygen thief. And there was someone very great that said, there are two most important days in your life. The first one is the day that you're born. The second one is the day that you find out why. Now, y'all are saying, okay, Colonel, so what are the two most important days of your life? 7 February 1961, the day that I was born. In January of 1985, as a young airborne lieutenant who got the opportunity to go through Checkpoint Charlie from West Berlin over to East Berlin. And when I saw the despair, when I saw the despondency, when I saw the lack of courage, when I saw the depression on people's faces, when I saw the rundown buildings, the roads, when I saw empty shelves in the grocery store, I knew why I was born, was to stand on freedom's ramparts and make sure what was going on in East Berlin never reached the shores of the United States of America. But folks, it's here. There are people that are running for elected office in the United States of America that say they're socialists, which means they believe in wealth redistribution, which means they believe in nationalizing economic production, which means they believe in a welfare nanny state, which means they believe in social egalitarianism. That's the difference. Equality of opportunity is what each and every one of you all believe in. What they believe in is equality of outcomes. That's what equity means. And they also believe in secular humanism, because they don't believe that your inalienable rights of life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness comes from the Creator God. They believe it's from them to give and take as they please. And if you don't start understanding that every single day you've got to talk in those terms to your children, to your grandchildren, in your homes, in your churches, in your communities, and slowly but surely, we will lose the greatest blessing that God has given the world. So I want to encourage you tonight that when you walk out of the doors here, when you wake up tomorrow morning, what is your task and purpose? What is your what and what is your why? Start putting together your own little 3x5 cards that talks about your principles, your philosophy, your beliefs, your values, and be able to articulate them. Don't leave home without this little document over here, because this is truly your American Express credit card that you should not leave home without. Because what we are facing in America is unconstitutional action after unconstitutional action after unconstitutional action. I live out in Texas. Texas has a 1,254-mile border with a foreign nation. And who would have ever thought that we would have a president that would say he cares nothing about the sovereignty of the United States of America, of the sovereignty of the state of Texas, and that he would, by executive order, implement an open borders policy. And if you guys here in Florida don't think that this will affect you, where do you think those 15,000 Haitians that came across in Del Rio, Texas, where do you think they're ending up? Right here in South Florida on the other coast. And you all will be the ones that will be taxed to pay for them. We've got to stand up for who we are and what we believe in. It's such a great time to be back here in Naples. It's such a great time to see all my old friends. Why are you taking that chicken past me? That's so wrong. That is rude. Did y'all order that food and have them walk past me? I mean, they could have gone around. You got me distracted. Do push-ups. But the thing is this. I love it being here in Naples. I love it being here with each and every one of you. But you got to understand something. We're in a battle, and we cannot relent. We cannot give up. And the first place that we got to fight is for the minds of our children, because that's what socialism always goes after first, the young people, so that they can pervert their future. God bless you all, and thank you for having me.